Hi, I'm Alexis.
And I'm Mark.
And this is Dishing with Dad. This week, I wanted to talk to you, father of mine, about parental expectations.
Okay.
Just, okay, that's it.
All right.
When you go on a date, or when you go to work, or not even work, but when you go out and about and you're meeting new people and things like that, as an adult, you're often asked, oh, what do you do for work? Or if you're studying in college, oh, what are you studying? Or if you're a kid before you've even gone to college, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? Like
Okay.
we are, as a society, so obsessed with the box that we put you into, right? And there's a
Okay.
reason for that. The reason is, how do I identify you? How do I address you? It's a quick estimation of who you are, right? A lot of what we do for a living is part of who we are. It's a fact of life.
Okay.
So whenever you heard me as a kid growing up say, I want to be an actor, or I want to be in theater, things like that, what did you think?
I honestly, from that point of view, you're asking me to recall over, umpteen years ago, decades for that matter, in some, it's like, what was I thinking at the time when you make a statement, right?
Yeah.
For me, whenever you would make a statement of, I want to be X, I want to be Y, okay? I'm like, okay, what can I do to enable it, the opportunity, and see? Now, in the back of my brain, don't get me wrong, there are some aspects I'm going, yeah, that's not going to work, but I'm not going to openly discourage you. I'm going to let you discover for yourself. If it was within my capability to help you discover it on your own and come to that conclusion that, yeah, this kind of blows, then we were going to do that, right?
Yeah, that makes total sense. Was there ever a point or a profession or something that I ever told you where you're like, that is not gonna work for you? Like anything I said, like as a kid growing up?
Yeah, a weather person. If you recall those days,
I do.
that was one of those things. Like, don't get me wrong, as an engineer, purely from my point of view, I'm really interested in just how things are and do. Okay, it's a natural curiosity that I have. I'm not saying you didn't have it. I just feel like you didn't have necessarily the technical brain pan for that. Okay, that was not. Yeah, that was not an aptitude that you had illustrated whatsoever. Okay, as far as getting a feeling for, digging in the dirt outside, doing things like that kind of.
Okay, first of all, I dug in the dirt all the time. That's very different than the weather, though. That's more like geology.
No, I don't think so. And I'm not talking about digging in the dirt to find things, but when you dig in the dirt, when you're outside, you get a feel for weather. You get a feel for that sort of stuff and try to understand it a little bit better. You start getting curious about it. So you were never curious about the weather. Okay?
What do you mean? I literally read an entire weather book when I was a kid that you guys got me even. There's still there's still stuff there that like I remember and I recall.
And I'm not saying that we didn't. Again, it goes to that point of what can we do to enable you to come to a decision on your own?
Well, I remember I did. Gosh, what did I do? I went to shadow the weatherman at our local TV station
downtown. Yeah.
And he'd mentioned something about chaos math, and it was at that point I was like, nope, I'm good. Chaos math? That's what I have to learn? And he's like, yeah. And then you learn how to do all these things, and then like it's kind of that moment in the movies where everything kind of blurs out, and you're just like. I kid you not. As soon as he said the words chaos math, I was like, I'm good. I'm done. I'm out. We're fine.
I mean, Jeff Goldblum's character in Jurassic Park, he's using chaos theory. Nature finds a way, which is almost like sitting there saying, yeah, you just trust God. It just happens.
Well, no. I mean, like chaos math can also be used for things like predicting stock markets and things like that, right? Like there's an actual basically it's like finding things. So it is to a point, but like trying to it helps to like find a mathematical way to create sense out of what seems patternless, right? Because there are patterns for these things,
which is in the end is weather to a T, and
that's
modeling
so
is
cool.
a big thing.
Guess who's not gonna do chaos math? Me. At least not as a
Well,
profession. Now, if I had to play somebody who does chaos math, sure, I'm gal,
yeah,
but
absolutely, but that's the
nah,
difference.
man.
But but see, that's the transformation you would
No.
make in this situation. You would be like, okay, I got to act like I got to understand it a little bit better. I got to be able to talk the talk a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's like in, out,
Yeah. Well, they were like
in
to,
that
to
sense.
study it and to really get it and to really grasp it. And to be, I was like,
Yeah. Nope. Yeah. Can you do that day to day in and out? No. But
that
like
ain't
I said,
me.
we were that to that stage of okay, let's we'll provide the opportunities for enablement, but in the end, you got to learn. The good thing was is later, and you were thinking of that sort of stuff more later in life than you were like, oh, I want to be an
That
astronaut at
was high
7 years old.
school.
Okay.
I did
Yeah,
say I wanted to be
that
an
was
astronaut
older.
at 7 years old. I did definitely say that. I said that, and I said I also wanted to
Well,
be a
a lot of people do.
paleontologist. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, paleontology was definitely something that was probably more in line than an astronaut, and your how I evaluated you. That's just me.
That's funny.
Um,
I could be
and
a
the only reason why I
paleontologist
say
who's an
that, the only
astronaut.
reason,
Okay.
the only reason why I say that is because of all the math arguments we've had in our lives.
Yeah, I know. That's why when he said chaos math, I was like,
Yeah,
close the book,
for
pushed it
me,
aside. Nope.
I got a
Zero.
lot. I got a lot of math right with you. You got a lot of math wrong with me.
What do you explain? What? I think it sounded a lot cooler in your head than it actually sounded. I don't understand what just came out
Okay,
of your mouth. I
I
think I
was
do
always
because
right.
I
I
was
was
gonna say
always
I
right in
think
my math, and I was always right in my math, and you were always wrong in your math to me. So you
sure.
just could
I
not
think I kept
grasp.
trying to argue. I was gonna say I think I kept trying to argue things that you were like, that's not how math works. And
Yeah,
I was
it's
like,
a
but
plus b equals a c, and they've literally given you two out of the three variables. How difficult is this?
yeah.
Okay, so getting to that point was always the fun part of our
Basically,
nights.
my father's trying to just out me as a terrible math person, which is hysterical because I would love to go back to
Which
school to
might,
get my MBA. That being said, I think part of it was just that, like, I think I just wanted to be obstinate. I think I didn't want to learn. I didn't care.
oh, I'm
I was
sure.
like, why do I have to
Yeah,
learn
I'm
this? I'm going
sure.
to be a theater major. Why, you know what I mean? Whereas nowadays, I'm like, I want to learn everything. Like, I feel like my thirst for knowledge
Yeah,
has really actually come out rather than back in the day. But that's we
yeah.
can talk about that in a second.
I would tend to agree with that kind of thinking in the sense of if you were kind of more locked into what you want, you tend to be a little bit more. I don't. Obstinate's not the right word for me. I'm thinking that a lot of
For
people just
me, I just remember
I'm
doing
thinking
this.
a lot
Like,
of people just lock out. I think a lot of people just lock out all the things that are told to them if it's not relevant. It's like I don't say it's not that what have you done for me lately, in that sense, but it is a okay that has absolutely nothing to do with what I want to do in my life, just like what you pointed out. So
sure,
my brain is kind of locked out, even though you're lecturing at me.
yeah,
I don't
just
care,
just does this. It's like whatever.
and I think that
Yeah,
was more why I got. I think that's more why like I got mad too, is because the lack of care put into it. Dad, A plus B plus equals a C. I know what the answer is. Why don't just put the answer down? That's not the point. It's the getting there,
yeah.
you know. But now you're in the production world. It's getting to that end result is more fun in a lot of cases than the actual end result.
Eh. Sometimes now, sometimes it's like Jesus Christ. I just want to get to the
But
place
where
I'm
do
trying
your
to go.
best stories come from? But where do your best stories come from?
Okay,
Getting
okay,
there.
okay. Well, that's like
And
arguing,
how much
like,
did you fuck
oh,
up?
all right, that's arguing. That's the whole arguing of like, oh, but it's the journey that's more important than the destination thing. I'm like, yeah, but the destination's also important because it's why I went on the journey in the first place.
No, there's a level of satisfaction. I'm not going to lie to you on that one. But in the end, though, when you really replay it in your mind, you're going, okay, I've got this out here. But getting to there are all those stories that you're gonna talk about. Say, yeah, but did I really tell you that in order to get this piece, we had to do X, Y, and Z? And
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
sure.
I got to have a guy hanging from the rafter holding this thing with two fingers while he was hanging by a toe.
Okay,
Something like that.
first of all, that has never happened on my set. Thank you very much.
Are you just
Secondly,
saying that so you won't get in trouble?
well, yes, and also because it's also the truth. That's never happened on my set.
Uh-huh.
And also, yes, Dad, there's some things
Yeah.
you're like, don't edit things out. Well, thanks for outing me, man. Yeah, thanks.
No, it's like you're doing play where I've worked a lot of Alexis's plays in her life. Okay, between building lights, excuse me, sound,
Did you do
all that
sound?
stuff.
Really? I don't remember that.
Yeah, because you remember when you were doing let's see, A Christmas Story. So
Mhm.
like almost your very first play.
Mhm.
Um, I was
I
running
played Ralphie
sound up
because of
top.
course, right?
Yeah,
Like, it was like I was like
I,
11 at the time or something like that. Yeah.
yeah, I was running audio and sound up on the balcony from the sound booth,
Hmm.
to make sure everything was set up there. So yeah, I've done that. Helped build the sets and all that stuff too. But in a lot of cases, it's like holding things together. They don't see that what's going
Yeah.
on.
Things
The
are like
little things
duct
like
taped
that.
and like quickly
Exactly, those are
glued
the
together and you're
stories.
like, "Ugh." Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, yeah, those are the stories that you really just love in a sense, that you tell just how you got there. Say, "Oh, you were great in that place." Said, "Yeah, and did you know that, we did X, Y, and Z, we hid this." It was kinda cool, in
So, I
that
mean,
sense.
stories are obviously important to part of what I wanted to talk to you about, is this, and this is we're talking about what I want to talk about. Let me say that again.
Yeah,
Um Stories are important, obviously, but I also want to know I want to talk more about like the societal aspect of it too, right? Of like
stories.
no, of profession. Because
Okay,
profession is part of the story of our lives, right? That's my
okay,
segue. So,
okay.
when as a parent, when you tell people that I'm a filmmaker for a living, or
Yeah,
I was slash am an actor, for a living and things
yeah.
like that, how do they react normally? And have you noticed that change over the past, decade or two, where freelancers like that have become more mainstream and become something that, even high schoolers are like, I want to be a YouTuber or whatever, right? Like, that it's become more acceptable.
I'll be honest. I mean, people becoming YouTubers or influencers, we'll call them. I guess it's an official profession, at this point. Um, I've never met anybody that said that that's what I want to be. I think you just fall into something like that by just putting yourself on film and throwing it out there in the interverse, and all of a sudden, people hit. That's in my opinion, a lot of success stories in that sense is you just hit. Somehow you connected and it worked, right? Now, when I tell people you're a filmmaker, their eyes don't glass over saying, "Oh, you're a YouTuber." You see what I'm saying? If that's where you were going, if not, no, I tell them, you're a filmmaker, you're an actress, you're a singer, the whole nine yards there, and I tell them about your life, and you brought up saying, there's an element in you that is just talented, that I would never even come close to. There's a big element of pride there when I talk to people about that,
Mm.
because it's in my mind it's a success story. Um, it's not one of those like, oh, you've been hunting around and I'm calling you three different things because you're not sure. No, it's because you legitimately can do all three things. And if somebody walked up to you and asked you, I have a job to do this, you could do it. That's a big difference than, hey, I have a job. Can you do this? No, but I'll figure it out. That's a big difference to me. It's a, hey, I've got this talent, this talent, this talent. I can do a lot already. I qualify per se. So, and that comes with pure talent, a lot of time, a lot of effort, study, absorption of the trade. And you found a trade that you could absorb. That's the difference between being the weather girl, the paleontologist, and the filmmaker that you are today. You found that niche you could absorb. I could act. I can memorize lines. I can sing. I can carry a tune. I can read music. I can understand cameras, lighting, and people. I understand how things work in a set. That's what you've learned and absorb. You don't really realize it because that's what you do every day, right?
Yeah.
But you walk into a room and you're checking all 4 points in the room and saying, God, the lighting. You just automatically do that,
You
right?
should have,
And
you
or
guys.
the sound is echoing. They
You
could have
guys, you
muffled
should
a
have,
couple
you
things.
should have. I mean, look, like this is clearly a very, very high end podcast here. We're using Zoom and,
Yeah,
you know,
right,
but
exactly.
no, you should have seen right before we started recording it. I was thinking about recording it while we were going, Dad, but like I literally,
Yeah,
he's trying to figure out his lighting, which is funny because I forgot to turn on one of my lights. Told him, I said, try to put. I was like, you're hot on this side. He even said, he's like, yeah, I'm just hot on this side of my face. Just put a piece of paper up. What you need to do is diffuse it. That way, it's not so hot because you can't walk it
yeah,
away from your face.
yeah,
Because there's a wall there. So it was the
yeah.
funniest thing. Yeah, that's funny. He's
No,
like, a
it's yeah,
paper's not gonna
it's
work,
an
and I was like, Dad, you haven't even tried it.
it's a natural thing. And then you go on set and somebody comes up with a new term for diffusing, but you'll automatically absorb that, and all of a sudden you start calling it that. Okay. I find I do the same thing in my profession because I'm so used to the XYZ
Sure.
process of project management and things like that. Somebody starts calling something a new term, and I kind of tell that it's the new trend. That's how things work.
Mhm.
I'll absorb that, and it automatically becomes part of my
Or
thing
it's
going
that
forward.
particular group's sociolect for or verbiage
Yeah,
for XYZ.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely a thing, I think, that sometimes happens, especially in between, like, film or broadcast or podcast or what have you. It's like there's
Yep.
some of the terms are different, even though they kind of mean
Yeah.
sort of the same thing, and it's interesting. But,
Yep. But the
well,
minute you start talking about it in your profession, you understand it. But the minute you start talking about it to somebody who's not in your profession, the eyes glaze over.
yeah, yeah,
Because it's like they don't care, they don't want to absorb, just like math and things like
yeah.
that. It's just they just don't care. It doesn't have no relevancy to me. But if you're talking to a peer, that's a different story because then all of a sudden they'll say, "Oh, but have you heard about this and this and this?" And you'll be like, all of a sudden you just go start talking your
That's
your
part of that's
your
part of why
term world.
that's part of why I love going to film festivals too, is just because
Yeah,
suddenly you talk the same language and everyone around you is like, "Oh
yeah,
yeah, I've been there, blah blah blah." Whereas you meet somebody on the subway and
yep,
they're like, "What are you talking
yeah.
about?" It's funny. I was
What the
talking
hell? What the
exactly.
hell's a grip? I mean, you know,
Suddenly you just see them scooting over farther from you. They're like,
yeah. He's a,
"She's talking
but the
about
funny
being a
part
best
is,
boy in a grip." What?
well, but
Girl, we
it's a
just
funny part. You
met.
should. It's a funny part. You should say that because I grew up with movies, so I think that's kind of like gravitated toward pushing you into that as you showed talent for it. Okay, um, I grew up watching pretty much anything that was on celluloid. Okay, if it was a new movie, I went to the movie theater to see it. Okay, slapstick comedy was a big thing. Okay, love it, love it, love it. What was even better was watching the credits at the end of slapstick comedy. And for all you people out there that know it, Airplane, Naked Gun, all did
Mm.
it. So when I say, when we talk about that, what we just said, and I just quickly referenced, which you just kind of glazed over, said, what the hell's a
I
grip?
yeah.
Well, it's in the credits of a Naked Gun movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Grip by Alexis Baroni. The next line, what the hell's a grip? Next
Oh my
line,
gosh, I love those. I love those credits when they're
that's
like,
what I'm
yeah, those are my
that's what I'm
favorite credits because
saying.
I'm like, yeah, that's the person on the subway being like,
Yep. Like the cut, but dorks like me that are just absorb movies and just are come up with we come up with those stupid sayings whenever we need it
mm,
from a movie,
mm-hmm,
and people are like, oh my god, another movie quote.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's because we saw that stuff. Okay. um so
Well, hey, Dad.
anyway, but yeah.
Speaking of movies, and I am unfortunately going to date this particular filming in this episode. That's kind of a no no
Okay.
in some
Yeah,
in podcast world sometimes, right? Like if we're trying to go for
whatever,
evergreen content, whatever, right? Yeah, exactly. So,
whatever.
I mean,
Date the thing, there's so just date it.
okay,
we're,
okay,
we're
shut up. I'm
publishing.
getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. So anyway, no, I if you have a chance to go see it, I can pull up the list of theaters for you, but your daughter's going to have a credit in AMC theaters here shortly, starting tomorrow in The Gates.
Oh yeah,
Cuz
the
yeah,
gates.
cuz my
Oh
name yeah, the movie by John Burr, who's a dear
yeah,
friend and mentor of mine. He had
yeah,
me on as one of his director's assistants. And so my
yeah.
name's going to be there. It's going to say assistant to director
Superb.
or director's assistant or something like that as the credits roll. So, yeah, you should
Time
go see
time
it.
for that IMDb update.
Yeah, I have no idea if it's on IMDb yet. I really need to check, but
Well, there's that. But wasn't didn't the movie?
he comes out tomorrow is what I'm
Yeah,
trying to tell you.
comes out.
Yeah,
Who's
you
in
should
the
go see
movie?
it.
Anybody knows?
Yeah, James Vanderbeek.
Was
Yeah.
that his? That wasn't his.
Yeah.
Was that his last movie?
Mhm.
Oh
Mhm.
wow. Oh well, you had the privilege to meeting him.
Yeah, I
Then
did. Yeah, actually I
oh
did. He
meet.
was a
You had the privilege to meet him there. Let
yeah,
me
good grammar.
correct my English.
Good grammar. Yeah, no, it was really cool seeing him work. Even actually John and I were at Sundance
Yeah,
and we were kind of talking about, because of course every chance I got, I was totally his hype man. I was like, "Oh my god, hey guys, did you know that
yeah,
his film's coming out at AMC?" Like that person. I
yeah,
was totally that person because of course
yeah.
I'm proud of my friend. So anyway, but
Yes.
we before he died, before James passed, we were kind of talking about uh I was kind of explaining how John would handle different actors on set and it was really cool, but I
Okay.
also talked about how James is so locked in. Like when he did a scene,
Yeah.
it was absolutely incredible. And also again, so another thing in movies, right, is that especially thrillers like that when they're mid budget. So I think it was
Yeah.
probably I think I want to say it was probably a tier 1 film, which will mean nothing to most of you. Um but
Nope.
it's a budget level. So
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Anyway, go ahead.
sure. So they were shot on all overnights. What that means is literally, I mean, we're talking about like when the sun set to when the sun rises, that's when you're working, that's when you're filming. And to
Okay.
have not just James, but all the actors and everybody who and all the crew and stuff like that working, doing overnights like that for a month, it's
Yeah.
really a testament to everyone's professionalism, to everyone's endurance, especially James playing a character that was so he's a villain. He's the villain in this film, right? Like
Okay.
it's
All
so
right.
it feels so different
Spoiler.
than yeah. Well, I mean, you can see it in the trailer.
I'll probably
Okay,
know
hold
right off the
up.
bat. It
Yeah,
probably, yeah, I say
it's
probably
even
know
in the
right off the
trailer.
bat.
Okay, like he's the bad guy. We all know this. Like it's not hidden. But it's amazing, especially because people know him from Dawson's Creek, right? Like I don't think they would imagine him as the villain. So it was really cool. It was really cool to see him just lock in.
Yeah, that's why you love to see experienced people work in a lot of cases, regardless of the
Hmm.
profession that they're in.
Oh, and don't get
You
as I
know,
say,
it's
don't
like,
get me wrong. Like
yeah,
the like Algie, Keith, and Mason,
yeah,
the three young leads, right? They
yeah,
were excellent too. Like that's
yeah. I'm not.
it's just
I'm in general
amazing.
just.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about just experience, and it's a lot to learn from it and watch. If people, you just pay attention to it, you pick up some things, and just that's the things that you remember, and that's a good story, in that sense. And I'm glad the movie's coming out, and hopefully, it definitely garners some eyeballs. You know,
Yeah, I really hope
um,
so, which is part of the reason why I was like, "Hey, Dad, you should go see it because your daughter's gonna have a name in the credits." You could be like, "That's my kid,
that's my
director's
kid.
assistant." Yeah, and it was,
Exactly.
and I also had to like give kudos and shout out to John and the producers and everyone else who let me come on and just I
Yes.
helped. Of course,
Okay.
I did what I could to help John. I was literally like, I will get Gatorade. What do you need? Because it's a lot of work being a director. I don't think people understand.
Oh
Like
no,
it's it
that's kind of
takes from you. But it's like I
no.
just want to say thanks
I
to them for letting me come on and watch and observe. Especially
yeah,
watching John work with somebody of renown like James.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a
It,
really cool experience. So it was awesome.
Yeah, interesting you should say that because it's very similar to what I do currently for my project manager role. I was brought in mid project, and so they already have people that are leading and running with it, and but one person, the person I'm working for was completely working their butts off, but they also had all these other efforts they had to do. So I just came in, and that was the first thing. Like, listen, you tell me what I need to do, I'll go do it. Or, you want to drop things on my shoulders to go with it. I know I don't know what I'm doing because I'm new here, but I'll figure it out. You
Mhm.
just let me get it off your shoulders and help out. And I agree with you. When you get dropped in like that, you just pitch in to where you can, do things that you're kind of familiar with at first, but then stretch yourself a little bit to say, okay, I've never done this before, but
Well,
I'm
it was
volunteering for it.
yeah, and to be fair, like in this particular setting, I wasn't going to be pitching in. Like for the most part, I was there to help
Yeah.
John and to shut up
But
and
that's what I
watch.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what
no,
I mean. Whatever
absolutely.
John needed that he
It
used to do for
was
himself.
so yeah, it was like because he's like he's got his headphones on and like he's listening to audio or he's talking to so and so or he's talking to an actor, but then he's also talking to his DP and talking about the next shop, and he's also talking to the producer and talking to the AD about tomorrow's schedule and things like that. And I was like, when was the last time you had a drink like of Gatorade, like with water? And
So yeah, right. Something
he's
as
like,
simple as
I
that.
can't
Yeah.
remember, and I was like, I will be back. It's
Yeah.
yeah,
No, and I
it's
think
awesome.
that's a good point there. Is it sometimes it's the little things that are really appreciated because it helps everybody, you
Yeah,
know?
well, and that's something I would say that I definitely learned as a job, working my way up, working as a PA, but also something I just learned from you, and just
Yeah.
being a parent or being a parent, being a daughter to an awesome parent.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
when you studied, when you went to college, you had initially started off in robotics, right?
Yes.
And then you changed to electrical engineering, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Because as I say, how did you get from starting off in robotics as as a major in college to being a project manager, right? Like, I want to talk a little bit about that.
No, electrical engineering was the starting point in at Purdue for me. Okay,
Oh, it wasn't robotics.
in order to get to robotics, it was a part of electrical engineering,
I see.
and at the time, it At the time, it was a basically almost a graduate level course or courses for if you wanted to get a robotics minor. Okay, so that's the only way to get in nowadays. I don't want to say it's an undergraduate study. I have no idea, to tell you the truth, but everybody knows. Everybody, they teach robotics to kids now. Okay, so that's great, and I think that's just innovation is just going to come a long way because of it. So that's great. So I felt like at the time it's like, it was a forefront. Unfortunately, it was just going to be. It's like saying I want to be a doctor. You have to determine at some point in your life that it's going to be it's a lot of work, and is that what really you want to put that
What you
effort into
want.
it
Yeah,
at
sure, sure.
that point? Because I really didn't touch my first level robotics class until my senior year in college, and I'd already been 5 years deep into college, and that was my first real. I had two first real ones to do to hit
So you
robotics, and
had
it
to
was all
basically get an
practical.
entire undergraduate degree in order to qualify to
Yeah,
study the robotics. I
pretty
see.
much,
Okay.
pretty much, and so I took those two classes, and it was purely theoretical and a lot of math. A lot of math in that sense, and it was
Was it
great to
chaos
see.
math
It was,
level?
I have no idea. I had never looked at a chaos math book, so I can't tell you.
Yeah.
But it seemed like chaos to me.
Yeah.
Okay, just like anybody else who thinks about robotics, you think, oh, I just put a screw in here and a lever in here, and just a solenoid there, and it's done, it's working. But the reality is you have to calculate everything to make sure things run smoothly. Okay, sure, what I put together just by throwing things together will work, but there's a difference between the arm going like this and the arm going like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
When you turn it
Yeah.
on. Okay, so yeah, over time my grades really didn't dictate that I would last long in robotics.
I
Okay,
see.
but I was smart enough, just like that, to come to that conclusion myself,
You were
and
like,
then look for an exit strategy. Okay,
sure, sure.
and so therefore, I knew these courses were elective courses for me, enough to fill the square for my credits to graduate. Okay, and so I took the courses, but I knew it wasn't going to go on. So at that point, I don't want to say I shut it down, but I wanted to make sure that I graduated. So I made sure I got the C in the
Yeah.
class to keep it going.
Yeah.
And the good thing was, and don't get me wrong, the professor I remember in robotics, I don't know, that's the only name I kind of remember all my time is the professor's name for robotics, Professor Koivu. The guy was
That's a cool name.
Swedish. He was
That's a
Swedish,
cool name
and
and a cool
and his
background.
his attitude, it was awesome because he loved teaching the course. He loved going through that math, no problem. And when we walked in, because the class was at 4:30 in the afternoon, last class of the
Jeez.
day for anybody. Yeah, right.
Hey,
His
here's your
attitude
heavy
was
robotics class.
exactly. He's
4:30 in the
but
afternoon.
he basically said, "This is heavy stuff. Okay, show up. You minimally get a C.
Fair
Okay,
enough.
that's
Yeah.
it. Just
Yeah.
show up. Okay, but put in the work or get you that A. Okay, because I want people to know and understand this subject because this is important. This is great stuff." And then he'd regale us like half the class hour would be he'd regale us the stories of, oh well, this was published in this time, and and he so went off his tangent, it was unbelievable. But somehow he managed to get the classwork done for us. So that's what I'm saying. It was very inspirational. I still have that book, by the way,
That's cool.
that
Well,
I
I feel like
had.
in some cases when you have a heavy class like that, whether it's theory or whether it's math or whether it's whatever, right? Like I
Yeah.
feel like you have to have a professor who's extremely good at explaining the information. I
Yes.
respect the heck out of professors and teachers and people who can take especially a high level topic and bring it
Yeah.
down to
Break it
where your
down. Yeah.
class is. I mean, like that's a talent, that's a skill. Like that's
Yeah.
amazing. That's an art
The
form.
guy recognized that even though we went through all this electrical engineering to get there, we still didn't know enough about anything.
But that's just it though. So I mean, he recognized that, but he also a 4:30 p.m. class with extremely hard math and things like that, but
Yeah.
also the fact that I think he added those stories added enough levity and added enough like, oh, this can be a real thing. It's not just a
Yes. Oh no,
theoretical course in
he
West
has the practical
Lafayette and
experience.
4:30 in the afternoon and
Yeah.
in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like it was
He
like
had
you can do
the
this.
practical experience. That's just it.
Exactly.
He had the practical
Yeah.
so to have those stories. So
Because I mean,
it
that's
was amazing to listen to. He made it worth going to class,
sure.
okay,
Well, and that's I
and
mean, because
doing
there
the
were
work.
some dude, there were sometimes like some of these film classes, and I know we're talking about robotics and film, very
Yeah,
different things.
yeah,
But there were some of these classes when I'm like, I want, oh my god, get me out of here. Like whether it was just it was extremely boring or it was theory that I felt like I was like, I don't really think I need to know this, but
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But it was the professors who could like kind of bring that real life part of it and could
yeah,
share those anecdotes that now I have as a
yep,
professional,
yeah,
that it was like, oh wow, I want to get stories like that for myself. You know what I mean? Like I was like,
yeah.
okay, I'm
Oh
gonna
no,
sit here in this class so that
absolutely,
way I could do this as a profession and get these stories.
absolutely.
It was like one of those things where it's like, okay, this is worth it. I promise you it's gonna be
Yep,
real. It's not just a book right now, but it can be a thing.
yeah,
It was cool.
yeah. And it helped. And circling into project management, how did I arrive there?
Yeah.
I definitely, as you understand, and hear through this discussion and previous discussions, I understand technical. I can interpret technical. When I recognize the simple fact I was not going to be as good as an electrical engineer as some of my peers, I looked for an exit strategy from a technical point of view where I could still stay involved with the things I really felt passionate about, but at the same time, it wasn't going to impact the lives of people. Okay. So, for instance, I always say I'm an electrical engineer, but you'll never see me working as an electrician
Sure,
because
yeah.
I can theoretically tell you how it's going to work. But if you get shocked, I don't want to be that one.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you're like, "I don't feel like
So,
being public facing." Yeah.
yeah. So I decided that, my interpretive type of skill set was much better because I can talk, I can
I had no
interpret
idea.
technical.
You can
No,
talk?
not
You
at
can
all.
you can have a
Yeah, I can
conversation?
talk.
You're good at
I can have a conversation. I can, add a little levity to a conversation, and then interpret that and I could talk to people on the business line. So between meshing the two together, I was this guy in between business, technical, talk technical, Mark, business. Okay,
Yes.
now we can get requirements done and things like that. And
You were the
honestly, it's a bit,
translator.
yeah. And I think a lot of businesses could do that. It's an amazing thing. Is a lot of not business, but a lot of work and professions can use project managers. Okay,
Yeah.
so just because I'm a project manager in software, and that's why you kind of say software project manager, project management can be used in any world. Okay, and then
Oh, for sure.
for all you viewers out there, probably the best story I always use from a project management point of view is her wedding. Okay,
Oh, no.
I project management that one, and I don't know if I want to. Do we want to save that story for another time, or
I
should we
think we
talk about it
should.
now
No,
that I
I think
brought
we
it up?
should, especially because 'cause we're winding down. We're
Okay,
running out of
winding
time
down.
here. We
We'll
can we
leave it
can
on this
dangle
fun.
that.
Okay, so we're gonna leave it for the next time. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, if people really want to hear about that story, maybe we should force people to comment and say, "I want to hear it."
Okay, that
Um,
sounds good.
and for those of you that may have heard it, um, don't tell anybody.
Don't go blabbing
Is
the
that?
secret. Don't tell the
Yeah.
ending. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but
Well,
anyway, but yeah, it's a good story around project management. I like to use, and hopefully people use that in their own world. Say, oh, I guess you can really project manage anything. But anyway, go ahead.
yeah. No, I was gonna say, that was interesting. There was some stuff there that I didn't know about you and some perspectives that I didn't expect to hear from you, especially regarding my career. Because I think when people hear that I'm a filmmaker, and I think a part of this now, honestly, is just how I perceive what I imagine people think of me, perceive of me.
Okay.
But I've always had people, I've had a few people say like, oh, how can you make a career out of that, how can you make a living out of that, especially when I was younger,
Yeah.
right? Like younger meaning like not in the actual
Yeah.
career field yet, right? Like whether I was studying or what have you, and that was always a little difficult, but it was really cool to hear
Yeah.
your perspective, so thank you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I firmly believe that when you go into school, you think I'm an electrical engineer, right? And so that's the only job that's out there for me. If I don't find a job that's labeled electrical engineer, I can't find the job,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The reality is there's a derivative of the subject in every job description, okay, or
Yeah.
job title. So
Yeah.
it might not say electrical engineer on there, but if you look at the job description or you look at a lot of the required skill sets, it has something to do with you somewhere.
Overlap. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in this week,
Yeah.
and we'll definitely have to see if Dad gets enough comments to share his wedding story. So,
Oh,
yeah.
see, you just gave it away. I don't think I told everybody that that's what I did. Or
All
is it?
right.
Or did I?
We'll talk to you all next time. Well, thank you so much for listening.
All right, bye everybody. Hope you enjoyed it.